We're two hitchhikers. We met while hiking Mount Baldy with mutual friends, wasted no time, got engaged on a frozen alpine lake, got hitched, and have been adventuring together since. We're embarking on a new adventure of living big in a tiny home. Let's see how this goes.
Adventure awaits.
So this week, we're taking you on a 1-week adventure of what it's like to actually build a tiny home homestead day by day.
Day by day.
Typically, our videos are 10 to 15 minutes long, but this one's a little longer.
Just a little longer.
Because we're including you in on the daily processes. So if you want to skip ahead, we're going to have the chapters below. Otherwise, grab your popcorn and...
Take a minute.
Yeah. So this is my little project that I'm working on here. I've been working on it for a few days in between helping Ruben with everything around here. We had some leftover wood pieces that we didn't end up using on the exterior of the shed. So I'm utilizing that scrap wood to build this maybe nifty contraption. So what this is a solution for our laundry hamper. What we're using right now is a laundry basket, and it just sits on the floor at the back of the casita. Floor space for us is so limited that having this square bucket kind of in the back, you know, number one, it's unsightly. You can see it from everywhere. And number two, it just takes up valuable floor space. So I needed something that was very shallow that could sit up against the wall. It's okay if it's a little on the wide side. Couldn't find anything online. So I thought, you know what, I'm just going to build something. If it doesn't work, guess what? We have a shelving system for the shed, or worst case, we have a good bonfire. Hey, sweets. She's in the window watching me. She's the foreman. Here it is in the back of the casita. So it's not a perfect solution, but I think it's going to really work. What this is on a piano hinge, and I just use these reusable bags that I just get from stores, and they're great because they have handles, easy to carry to the laundromat and hopefully the washing machine once it gets set up here. But I have these little blocks to prevent it from opening all the way, and these are installed here to stop it there. I can probably get a better solution for the bags, but for now it works. We have a little bit of shelving here. And what's great is that we can still open and close the restroom door. So I guess not too shabby. Now it is springtime. I am aware of this, but there was no rain forecasted at all in the weather until the end of the week. But I heard thunder and the sky just got dark over there. I just checked the weather app and now it's saying there's an 85% chance. So yeah, everything's out here, so I've got to quickly move it inside just in case we do get a little downpour today. All right, everything is at least somewhat safe right now. All of the wood that was out here, I moved either into the shed. That is cedar, so it's okay if we get a little bit of a downpour. And then the 4x8s, I just covered them here. Those should be a-okay. Everything else can be outside. It's somewhat covered. He needs the space inside to set up his whole water project, right? So we can't keep moving things in and out. So those should be good under the patio. We have the nail gaps between the deck boards up there, but with those items covered, we should be good. The reason why we're leaving it out here this week is because he's trying to get home a little earlier just to be able to put in an hour or two after work. That way we're not just relying on Saturdays to get things done because we just feel like we're falling further and further behind. This right here is called foxtail. And right now it's absolutely beautiful. It's a lush grass. But if we let it dry out, these things become terrible burrs. And so it does become quite a bit of a problem, especially if we plan to have livestock here in the future. So the point is to try and get this a little bit under control. And what I'm doing is going through with the weed eater and getting in towards the edges of things, get this cut away. We're hoping to be able to borrow our neighbor's tractor to cut down where we have it in more open areas, but I need to get it around. Like this fence line, we can't get that close with the tractor. So it's weed whacker time for me. And this here is more of the mustard that I need to get under control before it gets too woody, and we can't get it with the weed eater either. This is going to be too close for the tractor to get to. This is certainly not a glamorous job. I've got whipped in the face so much with all of the grass cuttings, which is why I'm covered up. But I can't even see, my glasses are so spotty. I can't hear you. I can't hear me with this on. This was knee deep with the foxtail grass, and the deer actually did like to bed down in here because it's nice, cool, soft, lush grass. But the minute this foxtail gets dry, number one, it is a fire hazard. Number two, it's really bad for the animals on multiple levels. And number three, to actually go in with the weed whacker, it whips me even more so than just this nice soft grass that it is. The grass is soft, that it hurts when it whips across your skin, right? So I got this done. I got along the electric fence line, I got that done, kind of crept around where we have some rocks and got a few more spots done. So it was a good few hours of work. My hands are vibrating like crazy. And yeah, I'm done with this for the day. There's going to be more to do. This is not over. Nothing's ever over here, but I have to get back to the casita and do other things.
Like doing dishes. So what does it take to do dishes without running water? First, all food items go in the compost bucket, which get taken to the compost bin about every other day. Then I need to boil water on our stovetop. In order to conserve water, we need to wipe down all of the dishes to take away any food particles or grease. These shop towels work wonders. I just cut them in 4. After everything is wiped down, the dirty dishes go into the sink to await the hot water and soap. I've found that this foam spray actually does the best job for our situation because it does take away all the grease and grime, but it doesn't take much water to actually wash it off completely. Then everything gets a good soak in boiling, hot, soapy water. Then it's the usual. You know what this is. The soapy water is replaced by clean boiling water. But because everything still has suds in it, I give it a quick rinse from this dispenser here. Then everything gets tossed into the clean boiling water for another hot soak. And drying dishes here is necessary because of the high mineral content we have in our water. And I'd say I typically go through about a half a gallon of water each time I do dishes. Not too bad. And because this place is so small, you really feel the clutter very fast, so we try to put everything away as quickly as possible. Now this water is from our well. Sometimes it's beautiful, clear, and sweet, but sometimes it has a lot of sediment. Now we both enjoy the taste of our well water and have never had a problem drinking it, but we still do buy bottled water. But how do we get our well water? Glad you asked. So our casita, marked here by the blue rectangle, is about a quarter mile away by the dirt road, marked here with the green line, to the water pump, which is marked by the red boxes here. Now the water pump does not turn on anything at the casita. It turns on the irrigation lines for the pasture, marked here by the blue circles. Now, the water pump functions differently than your faucet. We cannot just turn it on and off throughout the day. We have to be very diligent about when we turn it on and for how long it runs. So every few days, I put on my water management hat. This is what it looks like. After connecting the hose to the nearest riser, I have to let it come to pressure. So this happens. The amount of sediment coming out of the hose will determine the order in which I do the chores I need to. In this case, it cleared up pretty quickly, so I'm able to fill up our 60-gallon wine barrel that we use for our shower water. So I first have to drop the hose in, and then after turning on the water, I have to run back to make sure the hose doesn't spit out. Once it's close to filling up, I have to hurry and shut off the water, or it's going to get water over everything in the general area. Now I move the hose, turn the water back on, and I can fill up the ice chest. I use this water for incidental water I might need. It's not used for drinking because we store it outside. Then I shut the valve off, shut the lid, and I can now attach my spray nozzle. I can now turn this back on and begin watering the garden. We're still getting some sub-freezing temperatures at night, so for the more delicate plants that are growing, I use my little mini fake greenhouse method. Hey, it's working, and it's free, and I'm recycling or repurposing. Now, to water the compost pile, I have to take the sprayer nozzle off, which means turning off the hose. And I get to walk the hose all the way to the compost pile, which isn't terrible. Typically, the hose gets stuck in the tires, but in this case, it's getting stuck in the tripod that I have the camera attached to. Then you guessed it, I've got to turn everything back on. Then I get to make a quick run for it over to the potato patch I've planted in the fall. It's actually growing, so I give it a good soak. Then it's back to turning off the pump, detaching the hose because we're still getting freezing temperatures, and putting the hose away. But we're not done yet. I head back to the water pump and turn on the spigot to fill up the 5-gallon water jugs. The water coming out over here at the pump is typically much more clear, so we like to fill up these jugs here. And I can finally hit the off button. The drive back on the dirt road is always a fun one with these two 5-gallon jugs. And we're finally finished. All in all, it takes about 45 minutes to an hour if I work really fast between the on and off and on and off and on and off. But it's what we have to do to get things done around here.
Ruben is hauling some dirt for the raised garden bed area. It's soon going to be time to plant those seedlings, so I want to get that bed that we have at least prepped for the seedlings that we do have. And then in a couple of weeks, hopefully we have another garden bed to fill up. But right now, this is for bed number 1. So when we first came up here, we started this just plain old pile to see if it would compost and break down. And it's actually done quite a good job. Now, this was when we first started coming up here and we were camping. We just created this pile and made sure to just put organic material in here and then cover it with any sawdust that we made or any broken tree branches, especially the bark that we were cleaning off of the juniper to make for firewood. And typically, if you just leave a pile like this to break down on its own, it can take a couple of years. So I think this is maybe 18 months or so in the making. And it has broken down quite considerably underneath. So that's going to be good for when we move it over into the raised garden bed for some filler space. And it'll also help the organic matter to just continue breaking down, and the plants will have a good amount of nutrients in the bottom part of the garden bed and not just the topsoil. This side has really broken down nicely. This is so cool. There's still some big pieces, but that's okay because this is going to go in the very bottom of the garden beds. But this stuff here, this has broken down very nicely.
After another 12-hour day, Ruben came home to put in another couple of hours to work on the PEX for our waterline project. Mornings usually start between 4:30 and 5. That way Ruben can be out the door between 5:30 and 6. I'm sort of applying the Hugelkultur method to our raised beds. Number one, it'll save on a ton of cost with having to fill the entire thing with dirt and or soil. And the additional organic matter at the bottom of this garden bed will provide more nutrients for a longer duration of time for the future plants that will reside in here. Now this is totally random, but I really dislike wasting food. So in this case, I had a lot of garlic cloves that I needed to somehow preserve. So I dehydrated some in the oven. This can be used for garlic powder later. I'm fermenting some in honey. That's a good probiotic and also a good immunity boost if you feel like you're coming down with something. I kept some fresh, and then I froze some in the freezer. Just some food for thought in case you happen to come across a bunch of garlic cloves. Remember this from the other evening when Ruben brought me dirt for the raised garden bed? Well, we didn't know it at the time, but he actually clipped the top of one of our risers, not with the tire, but with the bottom of the backhoe. We didn't realize this until we tried to run the irrigation lines and realized we had no pressure.
Well, it is a beautiful morning. We've had quite a bit of rain the last few days, and we're just getting started early here. So Ruben is over there. He's got to dig a little bit more with the backhoe to see exactly what we might need to fix that riser that we ran over the other night. We're hoping that it's just something simple. So far, it looks like it could be. We're praying that it is. I'm busy over here, still working on the garden bed, and he's rolling me some earth that he moved from that area. Might as well. It's good growing earth. It's heavy, huh? That's why my triceps were hurting so much yesterday. Thank you.
We realize that worms are not exactly what everybody wants to see, but for us, it's a great sign. It means that we've got a heck of a whole lot of bioactivity and biodiversity in our compost pile. Well, here's part of the puddle. Fortunately, the metal riser is not damaged, so all we need to do is replace some of the PVC piping. But first, Ruben needs to clean up this metal piece because it's got quite a bit of rust there on the bottom, plus some dirt and grime.
Whoa. You do that fast.
Well, you break enough pipes, you figure it out. Give it about 20 minutes, and then we'll put pressure in the system, and hopefully it doesn't turn into a gusher.
Yeah, you can see these white posts are all markers for where our risers are, but that one apparently got blown away in the wind. So this one has sort of two markers. I'm gonna take this one, it's a bit more visible. And we're gonna make sure that that is steady in the ground over there. So I have all of the layers of wood chips, sawdust, local dirt, compost, potting soil. I think I did each layer 2 or 3 times. So now it's time to turn on the water. We're going to test it and see if Ruben's fixed it. And then I have to soak this down. And if everything goes well, I can add a few more layers. And then tomorrow I can actually start planting what I need to. We seem to be in good shape because yesterday our PSI was way below this. So it's slowly creeping up. Normally we get into the 50s. So I'm just gonna stand here a little bit and watch it, but I think we are in the clear. And we are looking good. Looks like he fixed it.
Now that the irrigation lines are fixed and we have water pressure where we need it to be, it's time to get back to the project that we intended to work on for this weekend.
Okay, so what I'm installing is a water sediment filter. This is basically just going to catch all of the larger grains of sand, little bits of rock that might be in the well. It's not going to be filtering anything like smaller than what that is right there.
Just heavy sediments.
Yeah, just heavy sediments.
So that will still enable us to utilize it as a irrigation option?
Correct.
Wow.
It's just the depth of it might not work. We'll see. Okay. You see that wrench, please? That's not gonna work. That will.
So you're gonna turn the knob and it's
Yeah.
gonna go on? That's really cool.
All I need to do is run this line to that.
Sorry for the awkward angle here. I'm helping to hold the pipe with one hand and film with the other. I can't move, so this is the only shot I could get.
This is the flush. About to put water into the tank. Hopefully it holds.
It's like a Venturi effect in there.
That's just all the sediment. Look at all that.
That's all the iron, huh?
Yeah.
So then what happens is when it builds up, we turn this knob and it flushes the sediment out.
Yeah. Step one, get water in tank. Oh, that's from the other side.
While that water cistern is filling up with water, we're back over here, backfilling the hole.
I didn't put too much stress on the joint.
Is that going to be an issue with that there?
Huh? Oh, yeah, terrible.
Whew, this is heavy.
Hello.
So we pretty much backfilled this and the tank filled up in about 30 minutes, but our neighbors came over to see how it's going. So we're gonna pause for a minute, give us a good chance to catch our breaths. So what we got done today, did the multiple layers over there at the garden bed number 1. We fixed the broken riser that we ran over in trying to get soil. That we did in under an hour. I got a little bit of things planted here on our rocky outcrop. And we got this tank filled up in 30 minutes, which was awesome. And now we're working on a retainer wall here. This gravel pad here was built up pretty beefy, so we don't have a concern with anything falling on any normal day. But if we get some crazy torrential downpour or, you know, and anything could happen to where it makes this kind of move, we just want to be sure that this is going to stay where it's at. So we need to build a retaining wall. And rather than going out and getting a ton of supplies, why not use what we have on store? What do we have? Lots of rocks. Yes. So we have one hog wire panel fence. Some people call it a cattle wire, I think. We have a pen that was used before for some hogs and also for some chickens, I believe, but we're utilizing that. I was initially going to use it for a trellis system for the garden, but this is a little bit more important than a trellis.
Ooh, okay, so this is what is called a gable wall. How and why it's called that, I don't know, but Gable made this wall and now everybody calls it after him. What this is gonna do
There goes our neighbor who helped us.
Yes, he's a great, great man. And so we're gonna fill this up with rock, fill in the cracks with sand, and then we're gonna backfill the wall over here so that, I don't know, 1,500 gallons times 8. Yeah, that's a lot. So it'll hold the weight and it'll hold everything in place for the next winter of rains that come, and I get to sleep at night. So this will work. This one's going to go into the drain for the sink. I'm going to connect this pipe and this pipe together to shoot out that way. See?
Looks like mad scientist stuff to me.
Yeah. Basically, it's going to be a conversion from here to 1 inch to 3/4, and we're going to be running 3/4 from the next point on.
That'll simplify things, right?
Yes.
All right, the Operation Water Project, yes, is that what we're calling it, continues. So before we continue with any more parts in the whole puzzle, we need to install this sink. So we are going to have a utility sink inside this shed behind Ruben. There we go, Vanna White once again. So that's what you're doing next.
It's 35 3/4.
So while I'm out here on trench duty, digging this for one of the lines, Ruben is inside the shed, still installing the sink, but my alarm just went off, which means the bread inside the oven is ready to be taken out. So I have to go inside because I'm getting dinner ready as we're trying to get all this done.
You making sure the bread's not burning? I think we're okay, huh? So one for us and one for the neighbors for helping us today.
All right, the chicken is in the oven. Now it's time to continue trenching. But let's go see what Ruben is up to.
How's it going?
Good. So this the side, and then from there, once I have that, I'm gonna put the sides right here. Here comes the plywood, and then once I have that, put the sink in. Once I have the sink in, I'll be able to do the mock plumbing, so that once the 3/4 inch line goes into here, it literally turns into the spider's nest that it's going to be. It's a lot of room for underneath the sink.
I'm ready to go gold mining.
All right, get your shit over here. You can break that ass.
Hey, I have to do more trenching?
Yeah, this is where it trenches out.
Okay.
I would use the backhoe, but
All right.
this one doesn't have to be that wide.
Okay.
But it is going to go down.
It's trenching. Where? It's got to be level to that?
Basically, yeah. This is the level.
Okay.
And so you're going to have to dig this out right here and then dig into that.
Okay. Yeah, what are you doing? You have me trenching. You just in here drinking beer?
Yeah.
Woohoo!
And huffing glue, that's what I've been doing.
Yeah, it smells like a nail salon farted out there. We almost look legit.
I know, right?
That's what we should have named our channel.
And a workhorse. What I'm going to need you to do is when I say shift it this way, I'm going to pull it this way and then I'm going to pull up. So I just need your help with the dirt not getting into the end of the pipe right there.
Okay, let me put my gloves.
Actually, if you shove this rag in there.
Okay, and then let me just put my gloves on just because of my cut.
All right, push. Push down, let it go down. Looks good. Cool.
There you go.
Put the level on it, see if it's...
Whoa. We continued working well into the evening, but didn't get to document much because we were on a race against the dropping temperatures. But all in all, we got a lot done this week. We fixed our riser. We got our water tank connected and completely filled up. We trenched. We continued laying and installing pipe. Installed a sink in the shed. We put a gable together and it's now ready for lava rocks. Guess what I'm going to be doing this coming week? We weed whacked, built a tilt-out hamper shelf kind of thing, and we filled the raised garden bed and even planted potatoes. Not bad for a week on top of our regular work. We're energized with the spring weather, and we're also on a mission to finally have running water. This was a long video, we know, especially compared to normal, but we really wanted to share what life is like for us up here with our family and anyone else joining in, outside of the usual documenting of one project at a time. Despite being up in the country, we're pretty busy. However, we wouldn't want it any other way. This is the end of this episode. If you made it this far, wow, thank you, seriously. Please consider liking and subscribing if you did. Hopefully you did get something out of it. But that is our wrap up for this week, and hopefully we'll have something new for you next week. I promise it won't be as long. Thanks for watching. See you soon.